everyone, Tim Schofield here. And it's time to do an unboxing of the new Magic Keyboard from Apple for our iPad Pro. And I did just finish my review video on it. I promised I would be getting this keyboard to try out and give you guys feedback. Now let's go ahead and see how magical this keyboard actually is. I do have to say it was like magic how quickly that $350 disappeared from my wallet. So yes, it does have a high price point at $350 for the 12.9-inch model, which I have, or you go down to $300 if you have the 11-inch model. So I'd like to open it up, see what comes in the box, and do some testing with it, see how strong those magnets are, see how the mechanism actually works, and test out the trackpad and keyboard. Let's go ahead and get started. Here is the Magic Keyboard from Apple, some plastic on the outside. Flipping it over, just want to make note that if you do have the 2018 model iPad Pro, this is compatible with that. Opening up the box, we do have the Magic Keyboard inside. I do have my iPad Pro right here to the left, so we'll grab that in just a second to test out. But now, continuing on, let's take some of this plastic off of the Magic Keyboard. Initial impressions of the outside, it does have some grip to it actually. I'm kind of liking it. It's gonna make it easy to kind of carry around once it is closed. A little hard to see, but there is an Apple logo just slightly etched into the case. So let's open it up and see what else is in the box. There is actually a decent amount of pressure to open it. It does stop right here. It doesn't look like you can actually push it any further than this angle. We'll get to that in just a second because there is more in the box to say designed by Apple in California. Pretty standard booklets inside, but there are no Apple stickers if you were wondering. Moving on to the Magic Keyboard, which not only has a keyboard, but also a trackpad for your iPad Pro. Now, obviously you're not gonna wanna have your iPad at this specific angle, so it does give you the option to bend this back. So that's about as far as it will bend back at an angle. We'll throw the iPad on there in just a second. I am curious over time to see after opening and closing this hinge. It does feel very premium, don't get me wrong. It does feel very sturdy. I'm just curious over time how well it's going to hold up, if it's gonna stay very sturdy, because obviously with a touch screen, you're gonna wanna be touching it a lot and you don't want it to wobble whatsoever. I don't feel like it will. It does feel very premium, the hinges overall. On the outside of the case, on the left side, you do have a USB-C slot and a close-up of the inside if you wanted to take a close look at that hinge mechanism when it does close. There you go. A quick close-up of that trackpad, and pressing on it feels fairly even no matter where I do press on it. Considering how thin this part of the case is, it's actually pretty satisfying to press. And a quick close-up of the keyboard. We will do a sound test with these scissor switches in just a little bit. I'll give you some feedback when typing on it, but let's go ahead and throw our iPad Pro on this case for the first time. Like I mentioned in my iPad Pro review video, which I will link to down below in the description, this is the case I've been using in the meantime. It's an ESR case, which I have been really happy with. It's extremely sturdy, stands up really well. So here's my 2020 iPad Pro, the 12.9-inch model. I have been using it for a while, even to edit some of my videos as well. And I have been happy with it as a tablet, excited to see how much this Magic Keyboard is going to add to it. So when you do want to use it and you bring it up, it does lock in place right here, and then you can angle it back. So let's go ahead and throw this on for the first time. If we just go ahead and set it in, make sure it lines up, and it is now attached and docked to our Magic Keyboard. Felt very secure. The outsides do seem fairly flush to the iPad. Before we get into more testing, let's go ahead and close it. So closing it, it locks there and then goes all the way down. It did lock my iPad if you're curious about that. And it does add some weight to it. So that keyboard definitely has some weight to it. It doesn't feel off center or anything. It does feel very balanced, but it is kind of heavy. Very sturdy as well. Now it does leave the top here open, so you can go ahead and throw your Apple Pencil on there if you do have one. Let's try and open it up with the iPad in the case. So it seems like you can't use one hand, which I would have been very surprised if you could. So opening it up, it locks in place, and then you just angle it back to how you want to angle it. It does seem like this mechanism could angle a little bit more. I don't know if this is exactly as far back as I would want it. After handling the Magic Keyboard as a case, I do feel confident it will keep my iPad Pro connected. The magnets are really strong, so I don't think while I'm carrying it, it's gonna go flying anywhere or detach when I'm using it. The trackpad does feature gestures, so you can quick swap between apps. You can go back and forth on pages. You can go to your recent apps. You can go back home. I'm gonna have to play around and test out some more of them and learn all of them. If you do jump into settings and go into general, there is trackpad settings, so you can change the tracking speed. Also with natural scrolling, with it off, if I go to recent apps and I go with 2 fingers to the left, it's going to go left and right in the same direction. However, you can have it flip if you're used to that. So you'll see if I go left or to the right, it's going left. If you go to the left, it's going right. So it's up to you how you want to change that. And of course, tapped click or 2-finger secondary click. So if you do want to right click, have 2 fingers. Let's do a quick typing and sound test and I'll give you some feedback. So overall, fairly satisfying, similar to the scissor switches that I already have on my MacBook Air, so I am kind of used to it. I think just considering how thin the bottom is, it's about as good as it's gonna get in terms of key travel and just the switches in general. Something else very noteworthy is that these keys are backlit. Seems to look really good in the dark. I did obviously turn the lights off. But there is no function row up at the top, so I don't see a way on the keyboard to actually change this backlighting. So I have to have the lights off to show this with the backlighting on the keyboard, but if I jump into settings and then go into general keyboard, also, quick side note, I'm really liking the preciseness of this trackpad. It actually gives some really good feedback. Anyways, go to keyboard and go to hardware keyboard. And because the lights are off, it actually will detect the ambient lighting and turn the backlighting on. So once it's on is when you can change the brightness of it. Whereas if there's lights in the room, it doesn't seem like you can have backlighting on at all. So it just detects it and turns it off. Hence why I need to have the lights off to really show this. So if the lights are off and the lighting is on, you have to dive into this settings app and go really deep into it to actually change the brightness. So with the lights back on, you'll see I can't even drag this to turn it on whatsoever, so it'll just automatically detect when it wants to turn that keyboard backlighting on. But still quite a bummer that there's no function keys up towards the top. I think I'm gonna miss that. And overall, that's everything I want to talk about for now with the Magic Keyboard. Some solid initial impressions in terms of durability, build quality, especially with that hinge. I don't think I'm gonna have any issues at all opening and closing it. The magnets are also really strong if you're worried about that. The only problem with it for me is that price point and lack of function keys towards the top. So that's it for me. More to come on the Magic Keyboard, more to come on the iPad. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe as well. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching.